What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Behind us, as you can see here, we have a special treat. All right, guys, to get things started, we have a 2002 Mustang GT, of course, here, and it is, as you can see, pretty much in its stock form. That is one of the things that makes this car just a little bit more special than the rest, is just the fact that it is untouched. Now, while this thing may not be the most attractive car in the world, especially when you compare it to the newer Mustangs like we have on the channel, this is something that will probably fit into most people's budgets, whether you're a high school student, whether you're looking for a secondary vehicle just to keep the miles off of your show car, if you will, or your race car, or whatever you may have. You can't really go wrong with something like this, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why. And it's mostly due to the fact that there's something special under this hood. We'll get to it in a second. I want to walk around the car and just talk to you a little bit. We're going to go for a quick drive, but yes, under that hood is what this video is all about. All right, here we go. Let's look at the inside. Let's see what this guy's all about. So, as you can see here, this is a 17-year-old car as of this video. It's 2002. And we have something like this, but that's not a big deal, honestly, because the rest of the interior is completely clean. No damage. There's no splitting of the dash anywhere. You know, maybe this car has seen most of its life in the exterior sun. Don't know. You know, there's no window tint here. It's all factory. But that's what makes this thing so cool. So we look at this, and then, yes, we don't have a push start. So we have a key, an old-fashioned key, right? We turn it on, and it has 125,000 miles on this car. In this case, the owner decided to go with something like this. This is that old, not, what am I looking for? Responsive automatic. And there's a reason for it, though. This is his secondary driver. This is something that he can drive across country, do whatever, and then, you know, not be afraid to put the miles on it. Leave the race car for racing events. Leave the race car for fun. So this one actually has some high-speed stuff here. That Mach audio system, that was the stuff back in the day. We also have some exterior trim up here. This is actually an added option. Now, my first Mustang was actually a 2002 GT as well. It was a 5-speed manual. It was red. It had most of these options that this one has, minus, you know, this little tray up here, which is kind of cool, I think. You know, it's that real 90s vibe, if you will, that early 2000s vibe, stuff you just don't see anymore. And it's crazy to think that things like that, those little creature comforts back in the day, we look at them now and they're just, you know, it's like, what were they thinking, right? But let's fire this thing up and hear how it sounds. The only modification done to this car right now in its entire life is an H-pipe, and I think he's got some like race bullets back there where the mufflers would be. Yeah, it's very, very old school sounding. I like it. All right, now before we actually take this thing out on the road and see what it's got, I want to just highlight a couple of things. Yes, we have a little bit of body damage. That was like that when he bought it, but he bought this thing for $2,000. $2,000, and it runs perfectly. But I really like the fact that it's still got the original wheels, basically the same everything back here. You can see that it's got a little bit of oxidation in the paint, but I would say overall it's aging very, very well. I'm very impressed. I've seen a lot worse, but for $2,000, I mean, are you really going to be worried about that too much? All right, now to answer the question, what is under the hood that makes this particular car so very special and really the highlight of the video? All right, here we go. This is what this video is all about. It is a stock 4.6. Now, I want to highlight that if it was a 5-speed manual, this would not be stock. But because it's an automatic, probably means maybe an older gentleman owned it. This is something that you don't normally see on a Mustang GT that is this old, is that it is completely factory. And look at this. I mean, this is what they used to do back in the day. But yeah, I mean, 4.6. Completely stock. These things came from the factory with like 260 horsepower, and back in the day that was pushing the limits a little bit. But of course, for today's standards, that's nothing. But I think it's really cool that this $2,000 Mustang is pretty much untouched. It has never seen any real modification. And I think that that's really awesome, because if I were going to buy one of these, I would want one that's not been trashed. I would want one that's not been, you know, beat up on. And this one has aged very well, as you can see here. And I just think that that's really the highlight there. I think that's really special. All right, now we know what's under the hood. So we're going to hop in this thing, take it for a spin on the road, and see what it's got. 17-year-old car. How fast is it going to remain? Because I'm sure it's lost a couple of ponies since its birth and delivery, but we shall see. Let's go. Remember, 125,000 miles, so not expecting a lot of acceleration left in this thing, but you know, it's got some age, but it seems to have aged very well. Certainly sounds good as we take off here. I know a lot of people are afraid to buy these old 2 valves because, I mean, arguably, if you're sinking money into the engine for modification, there's just not a whole lot there. If you do a full bolt-on a 2 valve, I mean, you're going to max them out at about 300 horsepower. If you do forced induction on these guys, they're good for about 450, and that's about it. But like I said, the owner of this one didn't buy this to modify it like that. He bought it as a reliable secondary vehicle, and I've been thinking about doing the same thing myself. So I just want to take it around the block, and we're going to explore how good this thing is. How well is it aged? Is it going to be worth $2,000? And I think the answer is going to be yes, but let's see. Remember, this is the old automatic, and it's not so bad. It's definitely not going to shift like the newer Mustangs, the 1819s with the 10R80. I mean, this car is way before the time now. There's something special about owning one of these older Mustangs, especially when it's as clean as this one. And it really, for me anyway, because my first Mustang was the 2002 GT, and that's what I drove in high school. It's where I first started, turning wrenches on. It's where I first started like learning about, with all the passion, the Mustang passion. And since that car, I've had about 8 of them. And that car, actually, we ended up taking it apart and did a full Cobra swap from an 03 model that had been wrecked. And through about, 520 horsepower of the thing, and it was a riot. Every generation has its trophy horse, I guess, if you will. But this one, for me, is kind of a real treat. It's a real unicorn, if you will, because it is still stock. It's not been touched, and it's so old. No, honestly, it's special. It's special in a way. Compared to my 2019 Mustang that I drive, this thing is fine. I mean, it's a smaller, tighter area in here. The AC is not working overly well, so I'm, pouring sweat. But it's okay, because it's $2,000. And on that note, the great thing is that parts are cheap. Cheap. All right, now we do have some turns coming up here, so we're going to get a feel of how well this thing actually handles for its age. Now, here we go. Just a long sweeping turn right here. But, these New Jersey streets that I'm riding on right now are not the best in the world. They're very bumpy, so we can really get a feel of how this car handles these bumps, how it transitions back and forth and moves us all around. Because remember, these old ones do not have the independent rear suspension. They have that solid axle. But overall, solid axle, it's not that bad. I really don't know what else to say about it. Everything's in its place for its time. This one has a 6-disc CD changer, which was a nice upgrade back in the day. We still use CDs today, so it's not like it's an old, cassette tape or anything like that. So it's somewhat modernized. Nice turn dials here for the AC, the HVAC controls, everything. Got a traction control button down here. Nothing crazy fancy, but that's the way that Mustangs were back in the day. That they were the more budget-friendly option for horsepower. But no, in all honesty, as we come to a close of this video, I really do think that this is a unicorn that he has bought because it is untouched. It has not been lowered. It has not had aftermarket stuff put onto it. This car, outside of him modifying the exhaust just a little bit, which does nothing for performance, is like you would buy it off of the showroom floor. And I think that in this day and age, is something special. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's very fast. It's just kind of my overall impressions of this old 2-valve and, you know, why I kind of want one. But if I want to buy one, probably a 5-speed. I'm not really sure though. You know, maybe an automatic if it's just a secondary vehicle. Do you need all that extra performance? Maybe you just want a Mustang to cruise around in, just something to go get groceries with. And then you can leave your race car or your expensive Mustang back home. But again, this brings us to a close. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you're new to the channel, would definitely love to have you aboard and subscribe. But all right, guys, if you guys are racing, if you guys are driving, whatever you're doing, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.